This short video is an introduction to the 8D problem-solving process. 8Ds, informal team problem-solving processes, are a deep topic that can take up many, many hours of information, discussion, and methods. That is not the purpose of this video. This video is simply to provide an overview and introduction of the fundamental 8D steps for those that maybe aren't quite as familiar. The 8D process goes through 8 steps, or Ds. Each one stands for a discipline. Disciplines 1 through 8. The important thing here is that these steps need to be followed thoroughly and in sequence. You'll deal with teams that will want to skip from one step to another step or go back and do something later, and it can't be done. To do this correctly, you have to go through the steps one at a time. The other warning that I would give here is that these cannot be done alone. This is a team problem-solving process. It's very tempting, and many people sit down at their desk and do 8Ds by themselves. If you do that, it is not done correctly. The result won't be good and won't give you the output that you want. So, going through the steps one by one. D1 is to establish the team. The objective here is to identify the team and the responsibilities. The action is to identify who's going to be the leader and who's going to be the sponsor for the team. Very, very important roles, as well as a technical representation on the team. The result should be a defined 8D team with clear roles and responsibilities. This team should be cross-functional. This team should be empowered. Somebody on this team should be familiar with the 8D process, or we should try to learn a little bit ahead of the process. D2 is problem definition. The objective here is to describe the problem, but to describe it precisely. And so to do that, we collect data, we collect information, we collect facts about the problem to help describe it. We ask ourselves a very famous group of questions. Who, what, when, where, how much, how many, to help us understand and define exactly what the problem is. The output here should be a precise and concise problem statement. Many times we run into situations where we will be asked to do 8Ds for something that's too general. Bad quality, late deliveries. There's no way. It has to be a specific problem. It can't be something that general and that vague. Another very common problem is when we are asked to do an 8D for 2 problems at once. That also can't be done. We need to define a single definite problem to which we can answer these questions in a precise and concise way. And in this sense, concise means one sentence, not a paragraph, not a senior thesis, one sentence. The next step, B3, is containment. The objective is to initiate containment actions that protect the customers. We may have containment actions that work within different parts of our own process and our suppliers, as sub-suppliers, but what we begin with as a starting point is to protect customers. These are actions to mitigate customer risk, or beta risk. The actions here are to identify the global inventory. The scope is everything. It's the customer installed in the field, the customer's warehouse, at our factory, at our warehouse, at a supplier, at a sub-supplier, at the material supplier, all the way through to understand what inventory, wherever it is, might be at risk. We determine containment actions, we develop a schedule, and we assess the effectiveness of those actions. Now you may ask, how do we assess the effectiveness of those actions? The answer is, before we start the actions, we define how we will do it, what the plan is, and what we will judge to be successful or not. That's how we assess the effectiveness, ahead of time, not after the fact. And very importantly here, we establish a stop point. There have been, in history, many, many containment actions that go on forever and ever and ever and ever. It's costly, and it's not effective, and it's not a good practice. When you start a containment action, be sure to specify when, under what circumstances, it will stop, so it doesn't become a permanent band-aid in the process, adding costs, adding cumbersomeness, and slowing down material flow. The result here should be an instant response to prevent issues at the customer. D4, determine root cause. This is a big step. There are many, many methods and analytical styles and different things that one can use to do different aspects of determine root cause. In this, we'll keep it simple. The objective here is to determine two things: the root cause of escape and the root cause of occurrence. Of these two, both are important, but root cause of occurrence is much more important than root cause of escape. If we ever have a choice in giving priority to preventing a problem or detecting a problem, we would, of course, always choose to prevent the problem. This is why root cause of occurrence is more important. What happened? What permitted the problem to occur? If we can stop that cause, it will never happen again. We won't have to worry about detecting it. The root cause of escape is indeed important, but it can be a bit of a distraction. The priority should always go to the root cause of occurrence. The action here is to use 5 whys, which are very famous, and we'll talk about in another video, and other tools to analyze this data to identify the root cause. The result should be a concise, precise root cause statement. One for root cause of escape, one for root cause of occurrence. Ideally, each should be a single sentence. D5 and 6 is corrective action. The objective here is to choose, implement, and verify corrective actions. The action should be to select actions based upon the root cause. The corrective actions have to be specifically linked to the root cause. It is so common to see a root cause analysis done reasonably well, and then the corrective actions have no association with the root cause whatsoever. This is a very, very common problem. So please make sure the actions eliminate the root cause. We also verify these actions for 2 things. One is completion, the other is effectiveness. Again, this is to make sure the actions are actually done, actually complete, but also to make sure they're effective in eliminating the root cause. If they're not, why would we do them? Again, to assess effectiveness, we have to determine what the criteria are, how we're going to measure the data, and how we're going to judge the data ahead of time. Then, once it's complete, we can wait the appropriate period of time and judge whether the action has been effective or not. The result here needs to be complete and effective corrective actions. D7 is prevent recurrence. The objective is to prevent problems on other current and future products. So we have learned a lesson, we have found a root cause of a problem, we have put in actions to stop it. So this is where we look across. If we have an FMEA, we update it. If we have other sites, we communicate what the action is to them so that maybe they can use the same solution. We look at other products. Do they have the same kind of problem where we can use the same solution? And we look at things in development. This is an important part that's often missed. So we don't design in the same problem that we just fixed on the existing product. The result here should then be, of course, prevention of future problems. D8 is always neglected. It's recognize the team. Often we're not sure what to do with D8 and to recognize the team, but it's really quite simple. We want to communicate the success of the team in the organization. We want to communicate that success to leadership because leadership must be aware of the good things that we do in the factory, of the successes that we have. We also need to recognize strong individual contributions to where specific individuals have done very good things and need to be recognized for it. The end result of all this is to reinforce effective thinking and the use of tools throughout the organization. If we don't recognize that team, we really run a risk of that strong action, that strong activity not being recognized, and the organization not supporting it in the future. So those are the 8 steps of the 8D process. First, to establish the team, cross-functional, know who the leader is, know who the executive sponsor is. D2, define the problem precisely and concisely. D3, take short-term corrective action, which we call containment, to protect the customer. D4, determine the root cause of occurrence and escape. D5, to develop and verify corrective action. D6, to implement and validate that corrective action. D7, prevent recurrence. And D8, recognize the team.